Hey,
Hey, hello, how are you?
I'm good and you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you for accepting to participate in this.
Of course, thank you for hosting this. I'm so excited. It's exactly
Yeah,
what I'm needing right now.
nice. So, um, you already complete the assignment. I have checked them. So now we are going to go through them together. I am going to ask you just things related to the assignments, but also something else. But first, before starting working on the story, first thing will be um, learning a bit more about your audience and your offering because the messaging that you put together will be different depending on that. So I like to start by having a better knowledge of, okay, who is the people that you are trying to target. So please introduce yourself and let me know a bit about what you do and who do you help.
Okay, so I'm Camille, or you can call me Cami. I'm originally from Brazil, but I've been traveling around as a digital nomad for a little bit over 2 years and a half, if you put together before COVID as well. So this brand, the Blossom Experiment, was born while I was living in Bali in 2019, beginning of 2020. And I was in a huge rock bottom. I had just kind of like stopped working for the company that I was working for. It was the first time that I was really on my own. I had never traveled alone. I had never been alone. I was always in long-term relationships. So it was the first time that I was really looking inside of myself for answers or for something to do. And I've always wanted to have something of my own. And I've
Mhm.
always wanted to help people in a way I just never understood and knew how I could do that. And so one day I was like crying on the bathroom floor because there's something about crying on the bathroom floor that's just inspirational, I feel like. And this idea, just like the name, just dropped in my head because um what I wanted to do with it, actually, in the beginning, it was like the experiment. It was a 30-day experiment of me following my dreams. That was
Mm.
like the intention of it. So I was gonna, and I've always wanted to do like YouTube videos. Like at that time, I really wanted to do YouTube. So I was like, okay, I'll set myself a challenge of 30 days to create videos for YouTube and show my life as a digital nomad. And I'll call it the Blossom Experiment because at the time I was obsessed with the concept of the lotus flower. I even have a tattoo, and the tattoo even became the logo of the Blossom Experiment. With the idea of like blossoming from the mud, like we're always reinventing ourselves and kind of growing from our shadows, our fears, and kind of like up leveling. So my idea was like, okay, I'm gonna experiment with blossoming, my dream of following this, something that everyone constantly in my life kept telling me that it was impossible. So I have that a lot in my life, like the way that that I've always wanted to live. Everyone else said that it was impossible. I remember when I was graduating from college in 2017, my I wanted a remote job. I was like, I'm not going back to a corporate job, to an office. That was 2017. Like it was really not common at all. None of my friends had it. No one that I knew had it. And my parents were like, Camille, just get over it with it. Like this is life. Just like, like this cookie cutter way of like, this is life, just swallow it. I was always like, I'm not gonna swallow it. Like it has to, there has to be something else. So, and then like, and it's really interesting because since then I never went back to a job. I always to a corporate like office. I always
Mhm.
managed to find remote jobs, and then I became a freelance, and then like things just picked up from there. So yeah, so after that, I actually didn't even end up doing the 30-day challenge thing. I like posted on YouTube for like 10 days or something, and then I had the idea to develop a website to sell my yoga classes online. At the time I was a yoga teacher. So I'm still certified, but at the time I was teaching more. So I started selling yoga classes on under the Blossom Experiment. After that, like COVID happened and everything, I had to go back to Brazil. I got really burnt out. of teaching yoga online, I stopped everything. Like I couldn't move my body, I couldn't like post on Instagram. It was just like a depressive time for everyone. I didn't have like, I was completely burned out. And then in August of 2020, like end of August of 2020, I still felt like I wanted to put my voice out there. Like still felt like I wanted to communicate in a way the things that I had inside of me. And for me, and then my sister was like, maybe you should create a podcast because you talk too much. Not in a bad way, but it was like you talk so much. And then in YouTube is not maybe the proper format for that. So maybe you should create a podcast. I was like, I don't want to create a podcast. It's for ugly like people that, like had this preconceptions for people that are like hiding behind the camera. But then I ended up falling in love with it. So then that became the name of the podcast as well. And then it just became the name of everything. And in the beginning of the podcast, it started from this intention of helping people experiment with life from a human perspective and also following their dreams. And then, of course, over the years, that evolved a lot. And then it became more about intuition, but in a way that's more tangible and practical, not super in the way of like the spiritual whatever, because that's also really part of my story of like the extremism of spirituality, and that's something that I don't want it to be like that. I don't want like this overly spiritually complicated language. I don't want that. Like that's not my thing. I think my thing is really the bridge between like the reality, the 3D world, and spiritual concepts that can be digestible and actionable. So yeah, and then it became about intuition and about this concept that I call authentic soul self versus conditioned self, which is something that I kind of like received. And yeah, it's just now it's like a platform in which I hope to help people just follow the dreams of their souls and their lives from the soul level, not the mind, like not the mental level. And yeah, and then now eventually, because I have a marketing background, this is something that people have been coming after me for that. But I was always like, oh, that's not what I want to do. I want to do like spirituality things. But now I'm kind of like mixing them together and bridging them together, and it's been going well. Like I've been doing this for not that long. Like I'm in like beta testing with my coaching clients, but the result has been really, really amazing. All of them are really enjoying it. So because I was doing like other sessions before that were like longer and like extremely spiritual, and I was not feeling happy with them. So now I finally found something that I'm really good at. Like I feel good doing it. I feel good afterwards. And yeah, I talked a lot. Sorry. I like
No,
that's
it's okay. Yeah, that's the point. Okay, so what is the offer that you are going to offer your audience? Yeah.
So the offer right now is called Your Calling, is a one-on-one. Um, I hate the word coaching, so I don't know if that's like relevant for you. I hate it, but like it is what it is. I don't know. I trying to use the word consultant maybe, but that also doesn't feel aligned. Like I wanted to find a word that made more
Mhm.
sense, but anyway, so it's this one-on-one coaching sessions for women. I'm starting to realize that are mostly women that
Mhm.
either they already have an idea of a new business or they already have this new business, or a project. It doesn't even have to be a business. That's why I keep calling it venture, because it's not a business, because I don't want to rule out people who don't feel like it is a business already, because it can be a project, or it can be even something like I want to start, I don't know, like a TikTok or a personal brand. Like it's
Mhm.
not really a business, so I'm calling it like a new aligned venture. So it's for these women who either already have an idea or they know that they want to bring something that is theirs there in the world.
Mhm.
So I help them first. I don't know if you know about human design. It's
Because some clients, yes, I know the concept of it,
so
but
I help,
not in depth.
yeah. So I'm not like a human design reader, but I help them understand their energy type. their intuitions, because my whole thing is let's help you birth a project into the world that is aligned to your intuition and your soul, not what the mind logically thinks it should be, but what the soul and the intuition want. So it's a very kind of like open-ended one-on-one thing, because you can start off by thinking in your mind that the thing that you're going to birth by the end of the program will be X, but as we go along through your intuition, you'll see that it's actually Y. So, but I always have this idea that it's like, so people connect to their intuitions, they learn how to use it. So in the beginning of the program, it's like a 3-phase program. Like in the phase 1, it's like an introspection, kind of like, let's get to know you in a deep, authentic level, without the shoots from the mind, without the limitations, the conditioning. I do this thing that I saw in another place that's called authentic self. So I find, which is like basically help them find their values, their unique values, their passions, their gifts, so they can start recognizing themselves as unique people who have unique impacts. Because I feel like that's something that also happens a lot with entrepreneurs, especially if you're like a heart-led entrepreneur or a soulpreneur, which is you don't really believe in yourself or you believe in your difference. So I really want to help people in the beginning of the program kind of recognize themselves and feel confident in whatever they are obsessed with, and kind of like finding their secret sauce, like their unique gift that they want to bring in the world in the now. I don't believe that something is meant to be forever, so in the now. And then after that, it's kind of like the process of bridging into reality. So how can we take the aligned steps? And I like to call it aligned steps, because it's not the steps in the mind that they're making decisions, it's really aligned, but you have to take steps, like you have to move forward in the physical reality of things. Because this is something that I also missed a lot while I was in the extreme spiritual thing, that it was like everything here and blah, blah, blah. And then there was nothing in the physical reality of the world. So I always give them like little homeworks for them to work on during the week. And then since after we start bridging, like getting to the like 4th session, I'm like, okay, this is great. What can we take as action steps now? Because I don't want them to leave the program feeling like, okay, that was great, like now I know a lot about myself, but like I can't see any accomplishment in the 3D reality. So this is really important for me, really important. And I think that this is also something that is really big for them. Like I see them, having the accountability of, I have to, I don't know, build this mood board, or like build this kind of like small business plan, or gather this action steps so I can take, because I have to show her, and I think that is something that I would have wished that someone did with me. Because when you're an entrepreneur and you're solo, it can be very like, okay, so I'm gonna do this website, no one's overlooking your shoulder, like you have to do it, you don't have a boss, like you have yourself. So you're like 1 year later, like I still have to do my website, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so this is they are looking for business help, or they are looking for marketing help, or in general, what they are looking for?
I feel like they are looking first to understand what is their thing.
Okay.
I think that's the one of the big things that people are like, I like this, or I have this idea, but what is my thing? It's a lot of people, they ask themselves like, what is my purpose? I don't believe in one purpose, and I don't want to market my thing as like, I help you find your purpose, because I don't even believe that that's true. I feel like there's the purpose of the now, and then the purpose of the in 5 years from now, and things change. But it's almost like each human, like I see it, each human has their own thing, like they have the thing that they're obsessed with, the passion that they are really obsessed with, but the mind doesn't allow them to follow that, because it's like, yeah, but what the fuck am I going to do with this? So for example, I have a client of mine that since she was a child, she was obsessed with going to restaurants, and she loves going to restaurants, and she loves eating in restaurants and everything. And her mind is like, yeah, but you're not going to make money with that, or like, what the fuck is that? And now, because like of the whole process of, okay, let's take this conditioning of the mind and the shoots, blah, 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 we're now getting to a really cool concept of a project that is going to help her like unite her, mix her really big passion for restaurant and for eating and experiencing things, with her need for like helping entrepreneurs getting tools to become entrepreneurs. So she has like this really cool concept that she created of like doing interviews on restaurants and things like that. So everything is like making sense and like coming together. And I'm so happy that I can help her realize that she can be in love with going to the restaurants and doing something with it, you know, instead of just like let's put it to the side, like really let's focus on making money right now and everything. So I feel like that's the first thing, that it's like, what is my thing? So that's the first thing that I feel like these people are looking for. They already, I think that they are people who, if I can use myself also as an example, like my 5 year ago self, it's like this person who wants to have something of their own. Like they are already, maybe they are in a 9 to 5, or they are like a freelance or something like that. They're not feeling aligned with the place that they're in right now in terms of their career and what they're doing, the impact that they're having in the world. They don't feel aligned with that. They feel kind of like unfulfilled and purposeless. Like, why am I doing this, you know, like why am I doing this work? And they want to create something of their own. They don't know exactly, they have some ideas, they don't know exactly what it is. They don't know exactly what they're good in. They don't understand how they could eventually make money from it. And also they don't know how to structure that. So my biggest strength is always in like strategy in within marketing and business. So I say like in my website, that's something that I'm kind of like trying to understand a little bit, because I feel like there's also another niche of people who are already business owners or entrepreneurs, and they already have a more structured thing. They're in another phase in which they don't necessarily need the first thing, but maybe they want help creating like a more aligned and intuitive business plan, or like a content calendar, or a strategy, or a marketing strategy or something like that. So I feel like I was thinking about that recently, that I'm going to create, I think like a second level program for just like these people, which would be very like marketing strategy, kind of like consultancy, you know, which I'm really good at. But I would infuse some sort of like alignment and spirituality sort of things. But then for these people, yeah, I think it's like just help structuring their projects, and it's like a little bit of marketing strategy, a little bit of business consultancy. It's like a mixture of everything. That's like what is also really hard to kind of like explain, because in my website I'm like, I say like, and now in the phase streets, we're going to take care of like the 3D reality stuff, marketing strategy, content calendar. Like I give a lot of examples, but it will depend a lot on what the person, what phase the person is in. And it's really catered to each one of them. It's not like a cookie cutter, like you are going to leave this with the website, you're going to leave this with a content calendar, you know, it depends.
Okay, I understand. And how, okay, because they are going to get something, so they are going to get an outcome, and this is going to be different depending on what is their stage. But when you work with them, which are the clients or the type of clients that you get, yeah, you are more happy to work with, and they get more results and they get more satisfied, let's say. So which type of clients are like the optimal in the sense of the results that they get, and how easy is the work with them?
For sure they are people who are they already have some sort of idea of what they want, or they sort of have some idea of what they like. Because I have one client, like I have now like four clients or five. One of them is like the outlier, which is someone who is really really extremely lost. She doesn't know anything that she wants, what she likes and everything, and she's so clouded with judgment that the work that I'm doing with her, it's more like limiting belief and deep work, like trauma, blah blah blah, which is great. But I can see that like I'm not excited about my time with her, you know. So I can, so just from being like doing this with her, I can already see what's the difference between all of them. And the ones that I'm more excited about are normally the ones that they are more like proactive. They're kind of like, okay, I want to do this, you know, I'm ready to take the action, I'm ready to make this work and everything like that. So that is something that, like, I want people who are proactive and who are ready to take action. I would say that the majority of them, so they are either in the, like, they are people who they want to create projects or businesses or project or whatever that have some sort of purpose and has like an impact on the world, like a positive impact in the world. Normally they are within like the spiritual or communication, like slash media, wellness, personal development world, but not or like I want to have a positive impact, because there are other people who I don't want to like really narrow it just for like people in the spirituality business, but it's more like people who want, maybe like they want to create like a sustainable project or something like that, you know. And they want the background of spirituality to understand who they are, and then like do the inner work, the inner excavation, and then bring out like this authenticity into the world in maybe like, I don't know, like an Instagram, a YouTube, a podcast, so some sort of media content creation, or like this is the action steps of your business plan, I don't know, or this is the content strategy that you should follow, or this is the universe of your so like some of the things that I am doing, it's like benchmark research with them. Like I don't do the research, I'm like, you should do this, you know, and do it, and then they come back to me, then I ask them questions. So it's like a really like, it's when I did only like marketing consultancy, it was like almost like a marketing consultancy, but like an aligned marketing I don't know, it's really
but my question will be around is what are they looking for? So they are looking for help in like more into the coaching and personal side, or more into the business side of things?
I think it would be like the it would be like the middle ground between that, because I feel like when you're a beginning entrepreneur, you have a lot of limiting beliefs that come with that. You have a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of I don't believe in myself, I'm not good enough, and blah blah. So we touch on some of that, but not on that, and like we stay on that. It's like, okay, we are figuring this out because these things are showing up as we are taking action in the reality, you know. So for example, like it was really interesting because I had 1 week that two of my clients, they, after started working with me, they received propositions, like they received two clients wanting to work with them, and I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. It's a manifestation and everything. And as soon as they started talking about it, I could feel it, that it wasn't aligned in their intuition. So the mind was like, I need the money, I'm going to take it. And the intuition was like, I'm not really excited about this. So I kept like putting them as a mirror, like, okay, look at your intuition. What is the intuition saying? They were like, yeah, I don't know, I feel a little bit confused and everything. I was like, okay, I can't be the one saying like, it's not aligned, because I don't know, you know? So 1 week later, all of them came, all of them, like in different sessions, but it was so interesting. It happened all in the same, like within the same 2 weeks. They were all like, yeah, I really didn't feel aligned. I wasn't feeling excited about it. And I was like, remember that we talked about your intuition. It's the excitement. You have to be excited about it, blah, blah, blah. And then they started like having, you know, realizations, and they started realizing that a lot of the reasons why they would take action and make decisions to work with a certain person would be more because of the conditioning of I should be doing this. This is good for my portfolio. This is good for the money, but not really, oh, I feel so excited to do that. And I always say to them, I'm not in the business of helping you make the decisions with the mind and the shoulds. I'm in the business of helping you make bold decisions with your intuition, because it's really scary to live this way. And I know it because I've been doing this for over 3 years, and I've been making, wherever I live, wherever I go, it's really challenging, and but it's magical at the same time. And that's what I want to help people with. It's making decisions from this place. And before, it was really broad, like, I want to help you connect your intuition and make decisions from this place. But now I feel like I'm narrowing it to to like create an impact in the world with that space. And that impact can come in the format of a business, of a LinkedIn page, or a podcast, or a YouTube, or I don't know, a physical dinner experience, or whatever, like that's why
Yeah.
I can't really it's really hard for me to put into words, like, you will get out of this a business plan or a social media page, because it could also be like a physical experience, maybe like help structuring the back end of the dinner experience that she's going to offer every month, or whatever.
Yeah. So what with what you are telling me, I would say that project could be like a bigger bag where there could be a business, that could be a podcast or some kind of communication channel, that could be experiences and even products. So I feel that maybe project could be a bigger bag where there is more flexibility for the ideas, and the people will know what they have in mind. So that's something that maybe is interesting. And then about the two audiences, so it's kind of the same audience but in two different stages, as
Yeah.
I understood correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. True.
So then it's like, okay, let's work with them in the beginning, but I will try to narrow down, like, as you said, they have some idea, so it's not they are totally lost. So it's easier for you to work with them. They have more clarity. They will resonate more when you said, I am going to help you to do this, to having an action plan for your project, and a project that can have an impact in the world. So that way is something specific, but is flexible enough that all these kind of ideas that they have can fit in. Okay. And so at this point, in which scenarios are you going to share your messaging? So with this work together, where is the main scenarios that you are going to share your story and your messaging?
You mean like the platforms, like social?
Yeah, for example, if you are going to refresh your About Me page, or you are interested in participating in other people podcasts, speaking gigs, or
Yeah.
content
So,
marketing.
yeah. So I feel like right now I'm in a place where I'm finally having more clarity of what I like to do and how I can help people. And for me, it's like I've always had a really hard time explaining that, in a way
Mm-hmm.
that people understand it very clearly. So I was like yesterday updating my LinkedIn, because apparently, like, I have another friend of mine and we do podcasts together. And she was like, yeah, I've been connecting with so many cool people on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, fuck, I hate LinkedIn. And I was like trying to make my profile like professional. And I was like, I don't even know what to write here. So I started like intuitive business coach, and I was like, no, this looks like too spiritual. And then I changed it to like aligned business coach, and then I was like, oh, I hate the word coach. And then I changed it to aligned business consultant, and I was like, okay, this looks like a little bit better, but I also like dislike the word business. So I keep like having so much hard time like putting myself into these labels of humanity. And I also can't create my own. So I just feel like bleh, I don't know, just like, here, this is all what I do, just figure out for yourself. But yeah, right now I feel like, so I've had my podcast for almost 3 years at this point. And I talk about, like, I have interviews on there, I have like my own solo episodes right on there. I'm not really like, I think my big thing is not really like being on, at some point, like, I could pitch myself, but I think it's more like how I present myself in social media, like in a LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
or like on
Okay.
on an Instagram bio on my website, you know, like having something, or like here in Paris, I'm starting to do some meditation circles, like how I like really make it clear for people to understand what I do to also spark interest in them. Because I feel like I want people to read my bio on Instagram or like on LinkedIn and be like, oh my God, this is exactly what I need. You know,
Yeah.
this person will help me. I feel like I want to spark interest and kind of like show them that I could help them with their pain point just by reading it and being like, oh yes, this is you know, like kind of like, you know, like an epiphany, I don't know, in a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, totally understood. And yeah, maybe even if you don't have like specific title like copywriter or whatever, you can have a headline that is explaining what you do and who you have and how. So that's why even if feels, and you know that because you know about business and marketing, is like narrowing down a bit will help you to be more specific. And then, of course, you can work with more people, but having a message that is like focus on this main group of people that you want to help could help you also to figure it out. And now that you are starting to have more clarity, will be the right time to, okay, let's try this and let's see how it works. And maybe in I don't know, in some months you will need to refine again, but you have like it's not starting from scratch. You are getting modifications to that you already put in there.
Mhm.
Okay. Um yeah, so first you have like experience in marketing, you told me. Um how did you got involved into marketing?
I graduated in marketing. So in Brazil, I did a university in marketing, a degree. And then I worked in fashion kind of marketing, kind of like fashion marketing consultancy as well. And then I worked with like communication and marketing in different places, like for social media.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I've worked with marketing actually my whole life. It just changed the industry. The industry was the only thing that changed.
Okay. And why did you decide to do marketing studies?
It's a weird. So I actually wanted to become a journalist because I've
Mm-hmm.
always loved writing and communicating and things like that. And my mom, she used to be a PR in Brazil. And then one day she had a dinner party with all of her journalist friends, and they like just like set me down and they were like, here is all of the reasons why you should not do journalism,
Oh.
like journalism school. And they were like, you can still like become a journalist and write even if you're not a journalist, you don't need a degree. I don't know how that is in, well, I think that's pretty like general, like I can still
Mm.
work for a publication without having like
Yeah.
a journalist degree. They're like, you don't learn that much like other than the specifics of journalism and everything. So I was like, wow, okay, I guess not going to journalism school. And then I was always really obsessed with sociology, philosophy, and understanding human behavior. For me, I've always been obsessed with humans. I'm like, why do people consume the way that they consume? Why they do the things the way they do? I've always like asked a lot of questions about humans specifically. So I've always been obsessed with that. And one day I looked at the like schedule of advertising and communications and marketing school in Brazil, and then I saw that they had some sociology and philosophy and research, so like human behavior research. So I was like, I guess I'm going here because I wanted to do psychology as well, but then it was too like medical for me. So I
Yeah.
felt like, I don't know, at that time it felt like it was the kind of mixture between, and I also had psychology classes in the school, in university. So it was kind of like a mixture of everything that I liked. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna do this.
Mm-hmm. And you said that you like writing. So when you started to like writing, or what is the memory that you have about writing?
I Since I was a kid, I've always loved writing. I had like my diaries. I used to be like, people since I was young, teachers, they always complimented me in my writings. And I remember I used to have a lot of fights with the like writing teacher because I don't believe there's one right way to write. So it irritated me that he wanted to put me in a mold as well. I was like, I'm not wrong. Like, this is not bad writing. I used to get really upset with him. So yeah, I've always had a passion for it. It's really easy for me to write. My freelance journey started as a copywriting person because I figured out that I could sell text, and I was like, really, I can make money off of writing. This is like the easiest thing for me to do. So I was like, okay, this is easy. So yeah, since I was a kid, I've always really loved it.
And when you decided that, yeah, you finished college and then you don't want to go to corporate, after that, what did you do? What did you do? How did you start working on your own, or what did you do?
So after that, I had just left my job in a kind of like fashion trend research company. And I already had in my head that I wanted to be some kind of entrepreneur. So I tried to open this startup with a friend of mine in like the fashion and technology industry. That didn't work. And then eventually my previous boss from this other place, he recommended me to this fashion production agency. They were needing someone that was doing like between like client services slash operations. So it was like an account manager slash operations role within the agency, and it was remote. I only had to be in the office for there was no office actually. I only had to be in the photo shoot in the days that they had photo shoots or in specific meetings, and the pay was really good, and it was like really what I wanted to do. Like, I've always wanted to be close to photo shoot and things like that. So I was like, oh my God, this is the perfect job. So I got in, I stayed there for like 8 months, and I'm pretty good at like looking at things from above and kind of like doing operations and seeing like, this goes in this and this. Like, I'm a really good consultant person because I don't like to do the things, but I'm really good at seeing the things that have to be done, you know. So I stayed there for 8 months, and then the environment started getting really toxic. And I also started getting really into spirituality. At that time, I was like starting to meditate. I was starting to take some spiritual courses and things like that. And one day I went to this girl that had founded a company that was like a spiritual startup, and she was holding meditation and online offline workshops on spirituality. And I told her like, look, I work remotely, I have a lot of free time, and I would love to help you for free. So I helped her out for free for like, I don't know, 2 months or something like that, and then she hired me. So I left the other job, and when she hired me, the company was already remote as well because she was traveling since I don't know how long. So then I stayed there for 2 years. And then I did like in the beginning, we were only 3 people. So I did like events planning, communication, took care of the website, took care of like online courses, blah, 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 posted on Instagram, did the social media, like a little bit of everything. Then after that, I became more of like marketing, overseeing operations, blah, blah, blah. Then I left, and then I started working as like a freelance.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And when you started working as a freelance, what was your role?
My goal or
Your role.
my role. So I would like the first thing, because like when I started, I was like, I'm gonna sell my yoga classes. So I wanted to, so I like learned how to build a website. I learned how to build like online courses, blah, blah, blah. But I would say that lasted like really for 3 months until I burnt out. And then I was like, fuck this shit. I don't want to do yoga classes online anymore. It's really draining. And then when I started again as more like a freelance, because I had some like random jobs in Brazil in 2020 and until 2021. I started as a copywriter like on Fiverr, and then I started getting clients. Then I got clients like out of Fiverr, and then after that I started working as social media manager, and then it kind of like went randomly all over the place, like content creation for some clients, social media management for other clients, copywriting for other clients. At some point, copywriting started feeling really draining, so I stopped and started focusing more on these things. And then at another point, I got a client that I helped her do like the setup of her entire business. So I did like a business plan for her, content strategy, setup of the social media, setup of the website, like, you know, like the whole operations of the company and everything. So it was like a little bit of everything at a certain point with the freelance. And while I was doing that, I was also doing some intuitive sessions that I was calling. Stopped that because that was super draining. It's weird how much things drain me. Now that I'm seeing, like,
not weird, but I mean, I see a thread there
yeah,
that
it's interesting.
you got, and because that's in some of the cases you have said that it's like 3 months and then you get trained. Like
Yeah,
there is a pattern
yeah,
with the other things. So it was quick that you realize, yeah, this is not.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. Like now, I really should think about. But I think that I feel like the things that started draining me were the things that I felt like I wanted to do them, like from my intuition, but then I started putting a lot of different layers, like this is how it should look. So my
Mm.
intuitive sessions in the beginning, I was like kind of happy with them, but then I was like, I was so scared of charging, you know, like I have a big problem with that. I feel like the most entrepreneurs have. I was so afraid of charging the session that I would like charge and over deliver. So I would do like 2 hours, 2 hours and a half
Mm.
of sessions. So like, and they were like deep, you know, like the trauma of the child that was abused, you know. And I was like, okay, let's do it. No. I was like, okay, this is not my thing, you know. And after a certain
Yeah.
point, I was like, yeah, fuck this, no. So I think it's because I added all of the layers of the mind, you know. That's why I don't. That's what I don't want people to do with their stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
currently trying as
That's
well.
good because it's like from your own experience, you know how it is. Like you
Yeah,
have the passion, you like something, and then you are just putting layers of all the shoots, and then the thing that you were interested in is not anymore because of all the pressure that you put on that.
yeah,
So that's something that you think can resonate with your audience because they somehow has that feeling.
yeah. Yeah, I think so, because this is a common theme in my coaching sessions as well. Because
Okay.
it's like someone had so like one of my clients have an idea and they're like really excited about it. And then the mind starts creating like, okay, then for this idea you have to do this and this and this, and you have to add this because this person says so, and you have to add this and then have this, blah blah blah. And then from X, it becomes X plus all of the entire alphabet, and they're not excited about the entire alphabet. So they're like, oh, but can't I just do X? And then the mind is like, no, you can't. You have to do all of the other things around that. And then they end up not finishing it or not even doing it. Or like I have this one client that she has like a spiritual business already, and she had this idea to do like a really cool masterclass on the eclipse and everything. She's an astrologer and other things. And I could feel that her excitement was about the class, but she didn't want to do it live because it was too much pressure. And I asked her, how does the live thing feel? And she was like, oh, it's okay. I feel kind of excited about it. No. 1 week later passes by. 1 week passes by, and then she's like, yeah, I canceled the master class. I was like, okay, why? Blah, blah, blah. We start kind of like going into it and everything. And I was like, okay, if your soul would do it with like no shoulds in the mind, no like this is how it should be done because the social media expert says so, blah blah blah, how would you do it? And then she was like, yeah, in hindsight I would actually not do it live. I was like, I
Mm.
fucking knew it. I knew it. I felt that it wasn't the line, but like it's not my job to make the decision for them.
Yeah.
So this is exactly what I feel like puts people off of doing their stuff, because they think it has to be done in a certain way. And I think I did that a lot in my business, and I'm trying. It's really hard, but for example, like social media, people say that you have to post every day. I
Yeah.
don't I don't like posting every day. And I'm sure that if I did post every day, I could grow more, but I just can't, like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
like, this is no, I love social media, I love creating content, but not every day,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, and I totally agree on that. Like you need to find a way that is a strategy that is sustainable for you and effective and simple for your life and align with your values and how you see
yeah.
life. Yeah. Okay. Um, Tell me a bit about intuition in your life. How did you get involved into intuition and all that area?
I've always been really obsessed with the concept of intuition, but not in like the psychic way, and that's why sometimes I feel like when I say intuition, it doesn't really land with people, because I feel like people instantly think of like either like this psychic thing, which is extremely spiritual, or it is like it's just a gut feeling that will tell you about, like, don't go in this street or something like that. And 6 years ago, when I left college and I was like doing nothing, I found this podcast, which is from a woman that for me is just like my biggest inspiration. And she talked a lot about into now she called it inner voice, but she talked about intuition in a very different way, in a way that you could like make daily decisions with it and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. But still, like, the way that she explained it and the way that she was suggesting that you connect to it, it's still a very, like, this is the way that you could connect with it, that's not what I believe nowadays. I think that each one has their own way of connecting to intuition. And my job, that's why I like the human design thing, because it shows you exactly how your way of connecting to your intuition is. So that's why I use it, just to help people, like, guide them back into their bodies and everything. But anyway, so yeah, it's a very like unique way for everyone. And I feel like throughout my life, either in the society way of doing things, I was, for me, intuition is really connected to sovereignty. So it's like when you connect your intuition, it's the voice of the soul, and it's what will lead you to your authenticity and to your authentic self, your authentic true self. And when you listen to it, you are acting in accordance to your soul instead of in accordance to your mind. And I feel like it's something that if you follow the step by step, you will eventually create the life that is meant for your soul, and not the life that not the life that your mind wants to create. And it's more unknown, it's more yeah, just like scary, quote unquote, because you don't really have so much knowingness of like, you should do this, why, but like, what's going to happen, how am I going to be, am I going to be okay, and things like that. So yeah, so basically, I feel like everyone has their own connection to their intuition. And like a couple of years ago, or like 5 years ago, it was either like, this is the way that you should live, and this is the way that you should set up your life. And then, like, whatever, I don't care about what you like. For example, I feel in my intuition that I should have a remote job, and then my dad is like, that doesn't exist, shut up and get a normal job. It's like constantly people taking you out of your sovereignty and of your inner knowing, and thinking that they know better for you. Or for
Mm.
example, with food, like, I used to have an eating disorder that was a really big part of my life, and at a certain point I wanted to help people with that. That also didn't feel really aligning. um but yeah, so that was another thing that was, instead of listening to my own body, to my inner knowing, to my intuition in what I should eat, how I should train and move my body and everything, I was like, okay, this nutritionist says this, so I'm hungry, I feel like I have zero energy, but who cares, because they know better than me. Then I
Mm.
will go and follow the advice blindly. And also in spirituality, I remember so many times that, like, either I met people that I didn't resonate with, that my body and my intuition, I felt like this person is weird, and everyone else loved this person, like this spiritual guru. And instead of thinking that I was right in my intuition for myself, I was like, Camille, your intuition is wrong. There's something wrong with you. You are the one that has like the negative energy or whatever. I was like gaslighting myself. 3 years later, I was like, we discovered things about this person, and in the end, my initial gut feeling was correct. So instead of
Mhm.
listening to my own inner knowing and my intuition, I kept outsourcing my sovereignty to other people constantly. And that's why I'm so obsessed with this concept, because I did that with my career, I did that with food, I did that with my lifestyle, I did that with my spiritual beliefs, I did that with every single area of my life, like how I should be in a relationship, how I should be as a person, how how I should everything. I did everything. I did that with everything in my life. And I think that once I started going back to myself, I realized that. And when I was a kid, there's this song that from John Mayer that says Why Georgia, that says, am I living it right? And I remember that, like, as a 15-year-old, I would call my friend crying. As a 15-year-old, 15, I was already like having like life crisis. I would call my friend in the middle of the like school kind of like testing things, like we're having exams. It was a week of exams. Instead of studying, I was like calling her and crying, like, I don't know if I'm living it right, what does it mean, and blah blah blah, until I realized that there's no one right way to live, there's your way to live if you connect your intuition and you take the aligned steps for you. And that's what I'm passionate about. This is my whole obsession with life. It's not telling you how you should do things, not telling you what should be your timeline, what you should eat, how you should exercise. And I always say this on my podcast and on everything. It's not because I'm living this way that you should be living this way, because you don't know if your intuition wants you to get a house and get married, or if it wants you to go to the middle of nowhere and stay there, or if it wants to travel or whatever. I'm not going to tell you this is what you should do. I'm going to tell you, is this what your intuition wants? I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not, because yeah, like I suffered way too much with that, and I don't want to do that with people. So for me, intuition is the voice of the soul, is you coming back to your sovereignty, coming back to your power, and creating a life that is your right aligned life, no matter what other people are saying. It's like your authentic life.
Nice. And if I asked you to give me a specific example where you were like not living in your authentic life, the sample that is like, yeah, this is the perfect sample that illustrate that, what would be?
I feel like when I left college, I did this thing that we call a dream map, like a manifestation board. It's just that this girl specifically, she called it a dream map. And I remember that I put a lot of things there, like, I want to be president of Google. I want to work in a fashion magazine. I want to travel to this or that place and blah, blah, blah. And I was like looking at it and I was like super like, yeah, I'm gonna, I can manifest anything I want. I'm gonna become the president of Google or whatever. And I remember like applying to Google and blah, 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 and like not getting in, not even the first try. And anyways, after like 3 or 4 months, I looked at this board again and I was like, where is the person that even like put these things here? Because I realized at that point, at that moment, when I looked at this board 4 months later, that I was literally creating the board that would make my dad happy with me, that would make my dad feel proud of me. So I wasn't really applying to Google because it was my authentic self that I wanted to apply to Google. I was just applying to Google because that's a way that he would validate me and say, like, you are having a life that is right in my terms. So you are enough, or like you are validated, you are okay, you are, I don't know, whatever. So I feel like that's the thing that I always remind myself of. And yeah, I want to help people design the mood board that's not the external validation one. It's the internal, not even validation, but like the internal true one. But yeah, that always comes to my mind.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, and tell me a bit about your starting to create in this specific offer that you have now. How did you get, I guess you get some clients? How do you have this process of creating this offer?
So last year I was doing like these intuitive sessions and I stopped doing all of them and I wasn't feeling aligned. I stopped my podcast as well for like almost 1 year. I think I stopped it for like 8 months or something. I was really like, I couldn't just the Blossom experiment for me was like getting too much and too intense. So I had a lot of clients on the freelance side of things, and I had a lot of work. So I started focusing only on that until in the beginning of this year, where I started feeling really unfulfilled. And I was like, yeah, okay, I have like clients and I'm making money and everything, but like this is useless. Like I hate this, you know? So I was like, okay, I need to go back to doing something that I love. And the first thing that I thought was the podcast. For me, the podcast is one of the things I most love doing in the world. Um, so I started the podcast again, and I was like, in my head, in my mind, I was like, I should offer something. I should offer something that is paid. I should, no, no, no. But when I went back to my intuition, I was like, no, it's not time yet. Like, I don't know what I want to offer. I don't feel like I need to offer or want to offer anything. I know that I could or should be making money with this, but I just feel like I want to record the podcast. So I just spent like months recording the podcast until recently. I had like in the same week like certain random people reaching out to me and being like, and this is something that I realized happened quite often, but I had never noticed that much. But I had a lot of different people reaching out and saying the same thing, that was like, because when I left Brazil 2 years ago, I left without any plans. I had like 3 weeks of, I knew where I was staying. I was following my intuition because I felt the urge to go, the intuitive hint to go. And I wasn't even making like nearly a minimum salary when in Portugal. And people were like, how are you going to support yourself? I was like, I don't know. I'm going to make it work because my intuition is telling me that I should do it. So I'm just going to follow it. I don't know if I'm going to stay for 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years. At this point, it has been 2 years. So something is working out. I don't know how. And I think, and this is really inspirational for a lot of people, because it's not like I had a trust fund and I was like, I'm like, like, my
Yeah.
intuition is this. It's like, no, I really had a lot of stories of like, that I talk on my podcast, of like not knowing how I was going to pay like rent next month, or not knowing how I was going to pay groceries for next week, and things like coming together, and this money showing up and that money showing up and everything. So I am like living proof of like how it is to go with your intuition into the unknown and go into the scary kind of like stuff and everything. But and so a lot of people recently, they were reaching out to me saying either like, I am going to like a 9 to 5, like I'm leaving my 9 to 5 and I want to start working as a freelance. How did you do it? Or another friend saying like, I'm working with this, but I want to work with this instead as a freelance. How did you do it? What's your experience? Or people saying like, I'm going to start being a nomad. How do you do it? How did you do it? Or tell me more about your experience. A lot of people that were just like wanting to do the same thing as me, but I don't want them to do the same thing as me, because maybe that's not aligned to their intuition. So for me, it's always like, okay, how can I guide you to your intuition specifically? um and for me, I never like, it doesn't feel good to be like, I help you become a freelance, because I don't even have like a process for that. I just like kind of like learned as I go, and then I went on Fiverr, and then I went on Facebook, and then I got referrals, and like I'm not interested in saying like, go on Facebook and do this and this and that, and then you will get a client. Like that's not my thing, you know. So when they started coming to me, I was like, I don't know how I can help you, honestly, because like, you want to know how I got clients, like, okay, this is how I got clients, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you, because everyone has their own unique way. So then I started understanding how I could best help these people. Because when I talked to these people, they were my friends, you know. I started realizing that these people, they were actually really wanting to have something of their own, and they wanted to make money, and they wanted to have the freedom and the flexibility so they could like travel around and everything, but they still didn't know what they wanted to do in the world, and they were feeling confused. And so I was like, there's something here. And then when I started telling them about this thing that I was trying to like think about creating, they're like, oh my God, that sounds really cool. I want to participate in, I want to have this. And I think that there are a lot of, and I also have friends that already have a, a business or something, but I feel like they don't want to work with someone that's like a business coach that will put them in this box. And so I think that in my way of doing things, they feel more aligned with that, because I have experienced the whole marketing thing, but I also know how it is to be an entrepreneur that is heart led and so I really makes me cringe. But yeah, that's more like working in the spiritual kind of like personal development, all of the limiting beliefs that come with that, all of the things about like pricing yourself. It's so hard to price yourself when you are the like as a consultant, or you're not pricing the result necessarily, like the physical result. You're pricing an inner transformation. Like I know exactly how they feel because I've done that in the past. So yeah.
Okay, good. And so how has been the results of these first processes with them?
It's been really, really, really good. I'm so happy with all of them. I think that they're the things that they say the most is how like actionable and simple it is. It doesn't have to be something complicated. I think that the thing of me like having a weekly person that redirects you back to your intuition instead of the mind, I think it's something that really shifts their awareness and the way of seeing their business and their life as well. um I feel like I'm bringing them a lot of clarity as well in like, okay, like taking away the clouds and seeing like the guidance more clearly and what they should be doing, what's their next step. Um, Uncovering layers as well of why they were doing things that they were doing before, why they don't. For example, I have a client has been procrastinating doing a proposal for like the past month. And at some point, I was like, okay, let's look at that. Then, after some kind of like excavation, we noticed that she didn't even want to do the proposal. Like she was just in the mind, like, I need the client because I need the money. But like she even has another proposal that she would make even more money, that she was not focusing on that. I was like, okay, what's the thing here? Like, what's blocking you? And then we saw that she didn't even, because that was her thing. She liked the W, like the X part of the whole proposal, but the client was asking for ABC and a little bit of X. And she was like, I don't want to do ABC. I just want to do the little bit of X. But okay, I guess I'll put myself and force myself into this proposal because there's at least a little bit of X. I was like, you don't want to do ABC. Like, why are you forcing yourself to do ABC if you don't want to? It's because in the mind, we have the lack mentality of, I will never be able to just do X. So we block ourselves from even allowing ourselves to receive that. And that's what I want to help people with. It's like, no, you can say no to that, because and make room for the X. You don't have to do the ABC if you're not excited about it, if you don't want to do it. Because clearly, I told her, like, if you're already putting off 1 month just for the proposal, can you imagine when you actually get the job? You're not gonna get it done. Like, and she has a whole thing with consistency. So I was like, you clearly just don't want to do it. Like, stop saying yes to everything. And I think that this helps them kind of like go back to themselves and have this awareness. And I think that it's just kind of like a refreshing new way of seeing things, of doing things. I feel like the accountability is something that is really big for them as well. It's like having someone holding their hands while they take the action steps, and they have someone to show it to. They have, yeah, just like someone holding their hands and guiding them back inwards.
Yeah, so let's say there are another person offering something similar, so they are also focused on intuition and how to make your business happen, not into the shoot, but into your intuition and that. What will be different from your approach of this work to someone else?
I think my story, like, I don't know what that person's story would be, but I would say my story and the way and how uncomplicated and grounded I want to make things. Because I feel like there's a lot of people in the kind of like spiritual realm right now that they're like, like they have this like really spiritual language, and they're like, bring the goddess in you. Like, I'm not that person. Like, I'm really not that person. I want something that's like, it's like grounded. And I think that because of my story within like extreme conditioning of society and then extreme conditioning of spirituality, I feel like I found my unique way of doing life with my intuition. And I feel like that's kind of like giving, and I feel like I've been living with my intuition for 3 years. So I have a lot of experience with how that looks like when I do act on it versus when I don't act on it. And while I'm doing coaching sessions, I can use, and they ask me questions, I can use my own life as an example. I'm not taking this like from, the depths of the earth. I'm taking it from my own life, my own example of, like someone is afraid of not making money. I've been there. I know how it is. And this is exactly what I did. Maybe that will work for you. Maybe we'll find something else. But this is what happened for me, that worked for me. Or I was avoiding doing this because of this or whatever. So I feel like, yeah, I have like my own story and my physical like reality to help them. And I think that I don't, yeah, like I think that this thing for me, it's really big. The thing of like, I don't want it to be overly spiritual. Like it's maybe like a trauma with the whole extreme spirituality thing that I went through. But yeah, I don't want it to be like this, like woo, like, yeah, it's just not me. I tried to put myself in that box as well until I
Mhm.
realized it's not me. Like I'm way more grounded. I even cringe when I write solopreneurs, like it's in my bio on Instagram and I hate it. But I feel like maybe people understand it, but yeah, I don't know.
Mm. Okay. So yeah, two thoughts on it. But first, can you give me an example of how you make things grounded for your client when you are offering a service?
I think that the way that I help them connect to their intuition is really grounded, because instead of being like this psychic voice that I'm saying like, okay, you need to go and do like a 20-minute meditation and then invoke your divine and blah 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 and then receive the message in a psychic way and then record a voice note or write something, and then normally it will come something like the power of now, like something that it's really not actionable. It's gonna come like something from like the world is all is well and everything, and it's gonna be a beautiful message and everything, and I've done it and it's cool. But it's like, okay, what the fuck do I do with this? Like how this knowing that all is well will help me with my fucking business. So, or my fucking life. Like, okay, that's great, but I don't understand. So I feel like I make it very grounded, approachable, kind of like actionable, kind of like daily life stuff. Because while we're in the session, the person starts like saying, I don't know, like, I'm thinking about doing this, and like this client of mine, she was like, do you think I should do this in English or in Portuguese? I was like, I don't know. Ask her. Yeah, but I really think that I should make this decision with the mind. I was like, listen, and then I explained my own story. I use it as an example. When I started it, I was doing it in Portuguese. Logically, I should continue doing it in Portuguese, but it didn't feel good in my body, in my intuition. Blah, blah, blah. I gave it to her as an example, and she was like, okay, I understood. And then I guided her like, what do you feel with the English? I don't feel anything. What do you feel with the Portuguese? I don't feel anything. Then it's not the time to decide. You don't have to decide it right now, because you're not even creating the content tomorrow. We're in another process. It's not the time right now. It's okay. And it's like, oh, okay. It's true. I don't have to worry about that right now. So it's very like, let's decide it. Let's see it right now. Like, go to your gut, go to your emotion, go to your whatever it is, the type of intuition according to human design. So it's something that you can use it in your day to day. So I tell them, while you are creating the proposal, for example, you bring it to your emotions. Do you feel excited about it? No, don't do it. Simple. Try to go and do something else. Or do you hear a yes? Do you hear a no? Whatever it is, like, you can do that with everything, with what you eat, with how you, if you go out, if you don't go out, if you're with someone, if you. So I think, yeah, it's very like in the integrated with the daily life. I don't know. In the beginning, I used to say, like, to write in my Instagram, intuition embodiment, which I think it's, again, doesn't explain it that much, because I'm trying to think of something that I can write, like on my name, when people research
Mhm.
something, they can find me on SEO thing. And I keep thinking like intuition for daily life, intuition, like daily intuition or something. But then people will think that it's like insights of my intuition daily, and it's not. But it's like it's like practical intuition. I don't even know how
Yeah.
to. Yeah, but that's what I want. I don't want people to think that it's a monster of like three heads and it's like this psychic thing that's like so hard to tap into. And yeah, like it's just something that's like inside of you that you can constantly access.
Mhm. Um, okay. And can you give me an example of how you like things uncomplicated in your life?
How I like or how I make.
Both, because you make things because you like things and that, I guess.
um in business or like in life in general.
In general, whatever example you think about.
I feel like because now I know how my intuition works and it's very emotional, I always go by like how I feel about things. So for me it's like simple in a way of like how do I feel if I'm, for example, like there was this trip that I was gonna do with a friend. We paid the plane tickets and we're going to visit another friend. And paid the plane tickets was like 80 euros and everything. And we were like, okay, we're going to Valencia in the end of the month and everything. And when I was buying the plane tickets, I was like, I'm not following my intuition. Like I can feel it. It doesn't feel good, but okay, let's do it. You know, it was the pressure from the external. I was like, it's whatever. Okay. Um, this turns out, so this friend of mine, she can't host us anymore in her house because her other friend is not going to travel because of the war and everything, whatever. So she was like, she messages 1 week ago and she was like, listen girls, my roommate's going to be here, I can't host you guys, so I guess the only way for you guys to come is if you find a place here, like an Airbnb, and rent it. As soon as I heard that message, I felt it in my body. I was like, this doesn't feel good. I don't want to spend more money on a city that I don't even want to be in, like on a room in an Airbnb. It just didn't feel good at all. So I know that like in the mind, I was like, yeah, but it's okay. It's your friend, and you're gonna like disappoint the other friend that's also going, and she already made plans, and she already mixed up like her whole schedule because of this, and you're the one that's going to fuck up the entire plans and everything. I was like, it's simple. I don't feel like it doesn't feel good to go. Like it doesn't feel, I'd rather lose the plane ticket and just like let the 80 euros go by than to pay for this. So then it's a matter of like trusting that what you're feeling, communicating it to the other people, which is I think one of the hardest things, imposing your boundaries and things like that. But for me, it's like I don't even go to the mind anymore for this type of decisions. Like I don't even I go to my body and I'm like, yeah, this is how I feel. I'm gonna like just follow it, you know? So I feel like that's kind of like an example of like it's a simple decision that could become so complicated and could become so like, but the girl is and you know, start creating these stories in your head. And no, it's simple. It's like I don't feel good about it. Period. Like I don't care. You can go alone. It's your life, not mine. For me, it doesn't feel aligned, you know. So I'm not gonna go. So yeah.
And can you tell me about, because you said that you were into the spirituality, like the stream spirituality. How was that process when you were like, enough, I am out of this?
Mm. So it was a little bit like a carpet being pulled from underneath me while I was in Bali because the whole way that I left the company was really disturbing. The girl that owned the company, she kept repeating this pattern with like a lot of different people in the company of starting to make stories about them and then taking them out of the company. And we never thought it would happen with us, the two girls that like started the company kind of like with her, which was me and another girl. She did that with me eventually, and then 1 year later she did that with the other girl as well, and now she's alone. I don't even know what's happened to the company. So it was really kind of like such an extreme rupture that was kind of like traumatic, that while I was alone in Bali, I think I had a lot of time to reflect back on the years that I was in the company. And then I started realizing how much to the extreme that I had taken that I had taken beliefs and things. I was like kind of like low key in a cult as well, you know, like we all dressed the same, we all spoke the same, we all thought the same. And yeah, I just like it like low key traumatized me, because when I see like spiritual people, I don't know, together, I'm like, oh my God, no, like take this away from me. It's like really traumatized me in a way. Um, and yeah, I realized, but I think that it's something that you only realize once you're out. And I think that if it hadn't been this extreme, I wouldn't have gone out of it and kind of like had some critical thinking and realized that. So it was not something that, yeah, it was really kind of like forced. I was kind of like forced to do it. And then I thought about it. And then instead of being, because like this other friend of mine, when she left the company, she was still really upset. She kind of like, she came and apologized because she was kind of like brainwashed by the other girl. And she apologized so much to me. She still feels really bad until this day. I'm like, girl, just get over it. But she kind of like mourned it more, like she grieved it more, because she was really like really liked her and everything. For me, it was more like, meh, like, yeah, okay, I guess this is it, you know. And then like critical thinking about it and being like, wow, this was really disturbed. Like this was really disturbing. Like because when you're in it, you just think that it like things are normal. But then when you're out of it, you're like, what the fuck was I doing there? Like with these people and doing this thing and like, yeah, no, yeah. Like there was this, for example, there was this one, this is a story that I tell everyone. There was this moment that we were working together with this other spiritual guru person, which was this woman that I never felt good about and everything. And we were selling a course together. So it was the company that I worked for with this spiritual guru. We were selling this course together. And the price was 350 Brazilian reais, which is an okay price for a course. It was even cheap for the amount of content that there was in. And at some point, the guru woman, she comes and like it's not selling that well, even if they have like together they had like over 100K followers, you know, on Instagram. It wasn't selling that well, but they weren't really talking about it, you know, that much. So the woman comes and she's like, yeah, I received a message from the divine that we have to lower the price from 350 to 99, and then we'll sell 1,000 units, which would amount in like 1 million reais. When I heard that, I was like, what the fuck are you saying? Like the problem is not in the P of price, is in the P of promotion. Like clearly you just have to talk more about it, do a giveaway. I don't know, just like promote it more. Like we're here for this, you know. And there was another agency working with us as well. And like me and the agency people, we were like just like shocked that that was happening, because how are you going to explain to customers that have already bought the product, even if it's like 20 or 30, that you're dropping the price from 350 to 99? And how are you going to explain the value of, because like as a consumer, you see something dropping so much, you are like, the value of it is just dropping in your head as well. So you're like not even going to really see that much worth in it. So me and the like other 3D reality people, you know, like living in the world as planet and like having studied marketing, we're like, what's happening? And we're like, no, listen, let's try to do it. No, but no. And it's like, okay, I guess like the divine of the spiritual guru spoke. So who the fuck cares about me, my little self, who just studied marketing and knows the piece of whatever, Kotler or whatever, like your opinion doesn't matter, you know, because the divine of the spiritual guru said that. And her intuition, that's the thing for me, her intuition is better or higher than other intuitions. So I could just come and say, yeah, my divine said that we should go up to 1,000, you should give me all the money. Like you argue with the divine of someone, you know, like you can't. So whatever, after like going back and forth, they eventually lowered the price to 99. We never sold 1,000, because like you're not like, you're in the physical. This is like a good story that shows like my whole thing. That's like, first, your intuition doesn't know better than other intuitions. you can't just impose your divine on people. That's why I hate this like overly spiritual, extreme spiritual thing. It's like you think that you know better than everyone. You think that you have this deep connection that no one else has. You think that you're like higher because you have the connection to the divine, and you think that you can call the shots and you know everything in the world, and that other people know less because they're not like psychically connected or whatever it is. And you're just like diminishing other people's sovereignty and knowledge based on what you are receiving from the divine, and you're not even right, because like we did lower the price and we did not sell 1,000. You did not make 1 million reais. In the end, what was happening really, what I think is that she was having a lack mentality of like being afraid of charging this much. And instead of looking into that and being like, I'm a human, I also have fears, she was like, the divine is telling me, like, stop justifying everything with the divine. Like, just stop. And for me, that's a great, great story of why I don't want to like to be in the spiritual, like in this way, because I was already. Can you imagine working with someone like that? Like working for 2 years with someone like that? Like you're no one, like you don't matter. You're just there to like do whatever the fuck the divine wants. And the divine, sometimes it's not really the divine, it's just your fear talking, So
yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's a good story to illustrate all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And okay, let me check because I no, yeah, soulpreneur. Because you said several times that every time that you write that work is like, how will you describe what is in your mind, that concept of soulpreneur? Not with that words, but maybe trying to think about what is the concept behind that word and try to find a new one.
It's an entrepreneur that is soul led, basically. Like that it's not led by the mind. That's why I write heart led and soulpreneur. I would also say soul led preneur or something like that. Heart led entrepreneur, something like that. I like the fact that, and I know that this is a very common used word in the spiritual world to say people, to like name people who are entrepreneurs doing spiritual work, which is part of my target. So I feel like they could maybe relate to that. But because of my trauma with the whole spirituality thing, I'm like, I don't want to seem overly spiritual, I guess. Like that's not the image that I want people to have of me for some reason. So but I love the word soul, and it's a word that I use a lot, and it's a word that represents a lot of my work and the realm of things that I work with. But yeah, I don't know why I hate it so much. I think it's just because it's really connected to the spiritual thing that I don't even like the word spiritual, to be honest with you, but I have to say it because it's part of the. But yeah, I think it's like a trauma thing as well. Like I just don't. It's really weird. But yeah, I'd say that it's either people doing like work within spirituality and helping other people within, I don't know, self-love, self-confidence, astrologers, human design readers, blah blah blah, or they are people who are just like leading their businesses and their projects with their souls, because that's in their hearts, which for me it's like interchangeable, like intuitive entrepreneur, let's say. But again, that's something that I'm really scared of, is that people, that's why yesterday while I was doing my LinkedIn, I changed from intuitive to aligned, because I feel like when people read intuitive, they instantly connect to the idea of like a psychic. That's my impression, and that's exactly what I want to avoid. Because if someone says like you're an intuitive, I feel like people, like, I don't know, that's what happens in my head. I instantly think like, that person's like a psychic or a medium, and I don't want it to be like that. That's why I don't know of any word that's like a grounded intuition. I don't know. That's why I say aligned, because I feel like alignment, it's kind of like a overall concept that encompasses a little bit of everything. That it's like flow, intuition, heart led. So I feel like, and it's more maybe grounded than intuitive business coach for me, it's like someone who channels something. Like for me, when I hear that, I think of like someone who channel some sort of information from business. That's not what I do. So
yeah, I agree. If you use the word intuitive, yeah, I will go in that direction. If you use intuition by itself, could be more into the gut feeling kind of stuff.
yeah,
At least for me, I don't know for
for
others.
me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that you can play with the idea that you just mentioned. You mentioned before practical intuition and then now grounded intuition.
Grounded intuition. Yeah.
So that will be a
Yeah.
way, like even visually, to move it like to your own way of seeing things. So maybe I will pray with that idea and having like your own concept for that. And
Like that.
also, maybe you don't need to call them solopreneurs or anything. It's just about, yeah, you are helping them to lead their projects or their businesses with their souls and not their minds or something like that. So you can not, you don't need to use the word. You can explain what it means to you in words that doesn't feel bad. Yeah, that's that's basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, also you have used a lot the idea of 3D reality. So that's something else that maybe to try to combine with those concepts and being your own way. Um yeah, so when I asked you in the form about the your values, you mentioned living for others, not living for others and living for yourself. And yeah, I would like to know what is one principle that you like is like, yeah, this is super important in how I make business specifically, in general in life, but in business. Things that for you as a user of someone else's services are important. It's like, yeah, if this person is not with this value, I am not working with them. There is something that came to your mind.
Yeah, for me, it's the idea of, is this person guiding me into a process that it's like a cookie cutter mode that work for them and they're imposing it onto me? Or is this person guiding me to a more, are they guiding me into understanding me better so I can create my own process? So nowadays, because of this way that I view life, I only normally tend to follow people and consume the content that will help me go back to myself to create new processes that work for me, even if it's like they have their own process and they are showing it and everything. Like, this is what works for me, but make sure to go inside of yourself, blah, 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 rather than someone who's like writing a book and saying like, this is the 5 step that you have to do, and if you don't do it this way, it's not gonna work and you're doomed and blah blah blah. I'm like, I'm not interested in reading or anything. This is me personally. So I think it's this idea of going back to your, redirecting you back to your inner guidance, your intuition, to your sovereignty. Like, I don't like, it's almost like a humble way, kind of like, I don't know better than you. It's, I know how to guide you into yourself, and I know the things that I know, and I can kind of like lay it out for you and use the tools that I know adapted to the way that you could feel better with them, instead of like, this is how you have to do it, you know?
And can you tell me about the experience where, sorry, where you have felt that the people are trying to put you in a cookie cutter formula? Do you have some
Yeah,
examples?
so
Okay.
many, too many. But one that I remember is that in 2020, I think, or 2021, I spent like so much money on a digital, like on online course about how to make money as a coach online. And it was like a digital marketing, online marketing, social media course. So it was like how to use your social media and Instagram to make money as a coach. And her whole approach was very cookie cutter. It was like, so you need to do this, and then you need to do this, and then you need to do like this cold calling, and then you need to post this in this way, and blah blah blah, and then you make money. And I'm sure like there are like, she had a lot of testimonials of people that did make money. But after I started learning about human design, for example, like I hate doing like I feel just disgusting, like I feel cringe, I feel like icky. It's just like takes so much energy out of me. I'll happily talk about my thing, and I'll happily help you, but I feel weird, like kind of like getting people into this call with me, pretending that I'm just like there to help them, but not I'm like actually like selling something. Like it doesn't feel aligned with me. I'm sure that there are so many people that feel aligned with that, and I'm happy for them. And I know there are people who do it in a very good way, and that's her part of the process. So I was doing like everything. When we got into this point and I started doing these calls, I just stopped. I was like, this is not for me, and there was no other way around it. Like there was no other, like this was her process, and if you didn't do this part of the process, you
Yeah.
couldn't continue. So yeah, and I felt like really bad. I felt like a failure. I felt like, like I had to put myself in this mode, and that I should do this, and that I should cold call, and I should like sleep into other people's DMs, and
Yeah. Yeah, and it's yeah, I totally know what you mean, because it's kind of similar. I don't like when the people told you like this is the way, and there are not several ways to arrive there. This is the way that works for me, and I'm telling you my way. Okay, you take it if it's working for you. I don't know other ways to tell you or whatever. Okay, but this is the formula. Is like, yeah,
yeah.
for you in your circumstances with that time frame, audience frame, and all the different things around that. Yeah, so I totally get that point of the cookie cutter. And okay, there is something that is connected to this idea of cookie cutter when you were a child, that you feel like, yeah, people is trying to put me in a box and I don't feel like that.
That's a good question. um I feel like as a child, I've always felt like I wasn't good at anything, because what I'm really good at nowadays, which is like more like communication, overlooking things, strategy, like consultancy, understanding people's inner worlds, understanding their gifts, blah blah blah. This is not something that like as a child, you're like, you're gifted, or like, oh, I'm like I knew that I was good at like writing because it's part of communication. But like my brother and my sister, like my brother was a musician, so he could like show in a tangible way that he was really good at playing. My sister, she was really good at painting and designing, like now she's a designer, so she would do like a beautiful photograph or a beautiful painting or a beautiful whatever, and have it like to show to people and be like, this is like my beautiful thing. And yeah, sometimes like I would write stuff, but it's not like I'm like, hey parents, this is like my beautiful writing. So I always felt like I didn't have anything to show, like anything special, and I felt like I constantly tried to kind of like getting the quick ways of like getting an external validation as a child, like, I'm gonna be really good at painting, or really good at dancing, or really good at sports, or really good at whatever, so people will think that I'm good at something. But I never ended up being good at, like I used to be. I'm so bad with my hands, like I'm horrible at drawing and everything. So I never had like a way of like tangibly expressing my gifts, and I think that made me really feel like smaller, compared to other people, and like as if I didn't have anything special. So I feel like, yeah, kind of like trying to go into the mode of like the cookie cutter way of how can I get external validation and feel like I have my space in the world. I think like my thing is always like I have my space in the world, because I don't understand what I'm good at. Like I don't understand why, yeah, like why I'm here, blah blah blah, these things.
Hmm. How do you think that could be connected to how your clients feel now, or have felt doing this process of, I want to move from whatever I do to find my thing?
Yeah, I think it's very much like, I think that this feeling of I don't belong,
Mm.
and kind of like I don't resonate with all of this, that it's almost like you're going outside of yourself and you're being like, what am I doing here? You know, like when you're in your corporate life or when you're with your friends that you don't resonate with, you just feel like way too different and kind of like you don't really fit in, and you don't feel like you have your space, or you feel like you're weird, or you feel like you're way too worried about something specific, or you're way too obsessed with something specific. You kind of like feel like you don't go with the flow of like you're, I think it's normally it's like people who tend to not want to go with like how life is structured, like get a job, work a 9 to 5, get married, have kids, and like there are people who are not feeling like they are aligned with that. They're like, this doesn't feel right. Like it doesn't feel like I fit in. Like it feels like they want a square, but I'm a star. Like you know, you're trying to go, but you're like, I don't feel like, you know. So I feel like, but it's not like weird. Like it's not like I'm not the like artist that will dress with like red hair, or like that will dress in this specific way, you know, like I'm not fitting in this like extreme way. It's more in an intern, like I could easily fit in if I just shut up all of my internal voices, but I feel like there are all of the internal voices, and this we like this deep desire to feel fulfilled and to feel like I'm having a purpose and to feel happy, that doesn't allow me to fit in. So it's more of like an internal sense of I don't fit in, or I'm not enough to fit in, or I'm not, yeah, like I don't resonate with this, more than like externally showing it so much, you know? So I think it's
Yeah.
very low key kind of.
And do you have an example where, or the main example that came to your mind when you said what I am doing here?
Constantly when I worked in the fashion production agency, we had a really big client that's in Brazil. It's like a really big fast fashion brand. And I remember that we would go there week. I hated like because São Paulo is really big. So like I would take the car for 1 hour to go to the meeting with the client because it was outside of São Paulo. And I would do that every fucking week. And I remember that when I started doing that, it was almost like the girl was like, you've been promoted. You're now going to you get to go to the client with me. I was like, I can't believe that I'm being promoted. Like, please don't promote me. I don't want this responsibility. You know, I hate going to this client. I hate having to drive there and back. Anyways, and I remember that when I was in these meetings, they were discussing like, I don't know, like 500,000 reais budget, which is a lot of money. Like think like 100k euros or 200k euros per week to do like a photo shoot to post on Instagram. I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like this is meaningless. Like take 5% of this money and donate to fucking like people in Gaza or whatever. Like you're really spending this much money to take photos of models and post it on fucking Instagram, something that people will be like, you know, like, or even, oh my God, like it just like blew my mind, you know? I used to feel so like I'm like, how do people think this is okay? Like, of course it's an industry. I understand like logically how it works. Like I work with social media, it's important, it's communication, blah blah blah. But it was just like too much, you know, for me. I can't, yeah.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Do you have something else that is like you feel like, yeah, maybe this is something that we haven't talk about, but it's something that you feel is important in your story or for your type of work?
Maybe um I don't know. One thing that I question a lot is like sometimes I'm kind of like like I know the importance of niching down, but sometimes I'm kind of like afraid of that because, for example, I have another online course that I've been working on, which is how to travel with your intuition, but I think it's going to become something else. I think it's going to be like how to flow with your intuition, or how to use your intuition practically in like your daily life or whatever, something like that, which is like my own way of kind of like, this is how I notice that it's like the pillars of connecting to your intuition. which is not like a process of like, this is what you should do, but it's more like elements of trusting, surrendering, honoring, like things like that, and my own experience with that, which is not really aligned with like, this is how you structure a business, or this is how you structure a project. So sometimes I'm really, that's why like the first sentence that you get when you're in my website is, I help you connect your intuition so you can manifest your soul's desires. Because I feel like the desire can be of traveling with your intuition, can be of whatever, like creating a project, can be of whatever else, like creating a relationship, not that much, but like I feel like there's something that's kind of like, it is about maybe a project, but it's also about a life that is more aligned, so in the end it's really more about that than really like the project. But the project right now is the way that I've been seeing that I can help people maybe more practically, more groundedly, I don't know. So I kind of like understand that that's my kind of like key target in this moment, because I feel like even the people who would take the course of traveling with their intuition, they would still maybe be like have a project and everything.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm kind of like afraid of putting myself in this box of, I only work with business or something like that. Because I don't, like I was telling another girl that's helping me doing like the visual identity and everything, I was like, I don't want to become this person who's like gonna have my whole podcast about business and alignment in business and spiritual business and blah blah blah, and talking about marketing. Like, I'm happily gonna talk about the things that I'm uncovering with my clients and how to make decisions in your business, for example, from intuition, set up the mind. Like, this is my next episode that's going to be released, things like that. But I'm also going to talk about astrology with my other friend, like going to talk about, I don't know, wellness as a traveler, whatever else with any other guests that come in my show. So I also want to be really careful, I think, of not becoming like this alignment business coach, and then like, this is the only the things that I can do. And then if I want to create a course about, I don't know what, it's like I can't, because it's not part of my brand. So this is something that I kind of get really kind of sometimes not scared of, but kind of like something that comes into my mind a lot. Yeah.
I have a couple of thoughts about this. Like, first, your podcast doesn't need to be exactly the same topics as your niche. So can have topics that are connected to your niche, but then could be wider, let's say. So you can have this flexibility of talking about topics that are interesting to you, and they are interested not just about the specific things that you said. And then the second thought that I have is that maybe you can narrow it down now to the specific thing that you are offering now. And then when you are positioned as this, it's easier for you to, and now I'm incorporating this, not just in your business, but also in your life. But then it will be easier because people know you already about how you are incorporating intuition in your business coaching. So when you have a position, then it could be easier to just branch that position in that role. So I always suggest to narrowing down what is for the now. I mean, for what is the offering that you are having now. Is this your social profile will change, your bios will change, your page will change. So the people, when they are trying to get the perfect website, and it's like, if your business is working well, your website needs to be updated every now and then, because your service is going to change, the type of people that you try to help will change, how your services looks will change, because it's going to evolve. Just by practicing, you will see, yeah, I feel good about this, I want to do more of this or less about that, whatever. So it doesn't mean that you now choose a niche and then it's like set in stone, this forever, I cannot change in the future. It's just a way to make it easier for you to be known as something specific now that is connected to what you want to offer now. So in the way that I try to make it, this is like, think about this as a way to make it easier for you to position in some specific expertise. And then later you always will have time to go deeper if you feel like, or go wider if you feel like. Because usually with the evolution that's going to happen, you will evolve in some way, or you go deeper into some of the elements that you are working now, or you go wider, or you just pivot to something that looks like totally unrelated, but you usually will have some kind of thread in your story, as you know. So I would say to give it a try and see how it feels, see if resonate with your audience, the way that you keep talking about certain topics, and also, the way that I work with personal brand. For example, when we work on the foundations, one of the things are the topics of your content. And there, how with the method that I learned, you have like maximum of 3 topics that are related to your expertise, but then you have 3 topics, maximum of 3, that are related to your lifestyle, what is important to you, and the things that make you different. And so usually with those differentiation topics, you are not making money, but are interesting to you, are important to you, and are a great way to make different examples. You get content that is different, and you bring that into your content. For example, for myself, one of my topics are nature as a way to self-care. I love to go to hiking and things like that. So I use a sample of those into sharing about stories or personal branding and that. So it's a way to make yourself look different, especially if you are trying to get differentiated from the intuitive spirituality kind of area. You have there a big potential of just review your own topics and see, okay, what I can bring that is important to me, is interesting to me, and can make my content really different from others. So that's why when I'm telling you, it's totally okay that in your podcast you are not only talking about that, because you can bring different topics there and make sense, and it's showing who you are, and also highlighting that it's not just one layer of you, there is more things about you, and people will connect with you in different levels. So I think that's totally fine. How that sounds to you?
That makes total sense. Yeah, I never thought about it this way. And I also think that, like, in the times that I was trying to be too broad, and talk about intuition, like several aspects of life and things like that, I feel like it was harder, and I felt like I had to do more effort. So I feel like, also, like, I can see myself doing that, kind of like having, because the lifestyle thing, I think it flows out of me more easily. And then kind of like starting to create more content. I've always created content about intuition and things like that, but now starting to create a little bit more content about, like, I don't know, aligned business, or like a way that, it's like, so I think that makes a lot of sense, and it feels really good to kind of like allow myself to try this out and experiment with this, and then see how it goes.
And this is something, because I have been there too, where it's like I have the feeling that if I decide this, then it's that. I know, you can change, and you are the owner of your business. You are the one making the decisions, for good or for bad. You can give yourself the permission to try and check it out things, and then decide with those data that you get from the result, and how you feel, and all that, and the result from your clients and all that. So that's good. Something else that came to your mind that you feel like we should comment?
I just have a question for you, because what's your opinion, I don't know, or idea or thoughts on, because I have an Instagram that's like my personal Instagram, And then I have the Blossom Experiment Instagram, which now I use it more for, like, I duplicate a lot of the content from one to the other, but now I use it more as like, I post more about like podcast stuff and blah blah blah. But I can see how like the personal one would be more interesting to share about like lifestyle and also what I'm doing and blah 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 and the podcast and everything. But yeah, I don't know, what are your thoughts on like having two different Instagrams or the purpose of them or whatever?
In general, I would say if you can keep it like simple, better, the better, because it's like time consuming. You need to think about the content and all that. So in general, if you can simplify, I'll go for that. I think that since you have a podcast, makes sense that it has their own profile where you are sharing things about the podcast, and then you duplicate, let's say, into your own content as a way to you are collaborating with their other account and making that post for both of them and making from both of them. But then in the personal profile, I would use it as a personal brand, and then you can share about your business, about your podcast, and about yourself as the values that drives you, and the things they can see your personality, what is important to you, and all that stuff. So I'll in general, I would say that I will do use that personal as the personal brand, and then the other more like promoting the content around the podcast, just the podcast. And maybe in the personal you can talk about the podcast, but also about the service, because then the podcast will be just about that content, and then in your own one you can have like all the variety of content.
Yeah. Yeah, because right now I'm this, because like the Blossom Experiment is also like the title of the website and everything, you know. So it's like kind of like the podcast, but it's also the brand. So I feel like right now I'm kind of like understanding, but I'm doing most of the things from my personal, because I feel like it's also more interesting because I travel, so I show like the lifestyle and all that. So yeah.
And you can incorporate pieces of, for example, one of your differentiation topics could be traveling with the intuition. So you can share about that. And it's a way to just inspire others, but also showing how you do in a practical way your intuition. So that could help. And yeah, and I would suggest to think about that concept or the idea that you already have. Is just a matter of looking for a name or a way to explain it. But because I've seen that you have clarity on what it is, it's just how to express it and how to communicate it.
Yeah. No, this was really, really good. I'm so happy you helped me, like with your questions, you helped me so much with kind of like understanding more of the concept, having more clarity, talking about my story. And also you, when you asked me questions about my childhood, it also couldn't help me connect a lot of dots. And the thing with the draining is something that I have to think a lot about. But it was really great. I'm so, so happy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to help. The next step will be I am going to send you like the notes and recording and a visual representation of the story connectors that I have seen during this work together. And then I'll ask you to put together a short version of your story, combining some of your defining moments. And when you send me, I'll give you the feedback and some suggestions on how to make it more interesting or clear. Then after that, I'll send you the feedback survey so you can tell me about this and what to improve and that.
Okay, perfect. I'll happily record the video testimonial for you as well.
Nice, thank you. So yeah, I don't know if you have any other questions.
No.
Okay, so it was really nice to do this. I'm happy that we have the opportunity to talk and learn a bit more about your story and what you do.
Me too. Thank you so much. This was really, really amazing. I'm feeling really inspired and just, yeah, with more strength, you know, to keep going and everything. So thank you.
That's nice. Thank you. And it's going to be helpful for people maybe thinking about joining. They
Yeah.
can see how this look behind the scenes, and get a more I don't know, a decision with more data or more information.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, thank you so much. Your work is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's stay in touch. I'll email you probably tomorrow.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, just let me know, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank
Bye.
you
Thank
so
you.
much. Bye bye.